Okay, here we go. So I'm going to be recording this video. I'll have this video on Canvas for you to go back and review. You may want to do that. I will tell you that there is a worksheet that goes with this video as well as my other video in Canvas. And if you want to open that up, you can do so. I'm going to show you where that's at. Most of today, you're not going to be looking at me. You're going to be looking at my computer screen. And that's why I'm using, where'd you go? Hello. Canvas. Here we go. I'll be sharing my computer screen and looking at Canvas. I will be looking at the CAD system. So if you go to Canvas, you look at week 5 right here. The Open Lab sign up sheet is right there. It's a brand new sheet, so that's the one you have to sign up on. Plasma Cutting 101. That's the assignment that we put on for Monday, and that's from weld.com. They're really good. Go back. So week 5, CNC plasma cutter. That's where we're at today. There's a demonstration in there. This presentation right here is one that I did from last spring. Also shows how to zero out and set up the plasma cutter. I will be putting this video in right here if you want to review it. And then the worksheet is down there, and you can go in and reference the worksheet anytime you want. So that is what we're going to be doing right now. So as I said earlier, I had to set up on a different computer earlier today. I was trying to do this, and my mic didn't work and my camera didn't work. So I'm recording this one and going to put it on my prior hours. Okay, so see the plasma cutter. We looked at the plasma cutter, or you should have looked at the plasma cutter, and we can see that we can cut steel with it. Great. How do we do something really cool with it? If we want to get into doing something cool with it, we're going to take that plasma cutter cutting head and we're going to attach it to a CNC. And I showed you that on our Monday class meeting. The CNC operates on an X, Y, and Z coordinate. So we're always looking at where is X. X is right to left in front of us. Y is going up and down on our screen. And then Z is always the cutter head going to the material. So if this is my material, Z is always coming down and touching the material or picking up. So that's a Z coordinate. And I always tell everyone, if you think of making like an L and you put your L down on your paper, that's how we know X, Y, and then Z is going in and out. So we're always working in this X, Y, and Z coordinate, and that's how the CAD system works. That's how the CNC systems work. You guys that had me for 9th grade metals, remember we had to write the code by hand. And you guys hated writing the code. I get that. It's kind of time consuming. Well, with this system, you don't have to write any code. All we have to do is draw your part out. So if you can draw it, we can make it. And so there's no writing code. It's just drawing the part and then telling the plasma cutter where you want to go. When we get to making and designing the part, here's what you need to consider. Bare minimum part that you would design would be something like this. That's a pretty simple part. This was something a freshman made last quarter. This is the bare minimum I would even take for credit. But you can see, if we look at this, it's just like a seagull or a bird right here. All we did was cut lines out on here, and it cut out that object. I would have rather had them put their name or something else right there with it. I would have liked to have had it a little bit more complicated than this, but that's pretty simple. That's really simple. You can go from that to something like this. That's from last semester. This was actually last year's project. This student didn't take this with them. But I'm showing you this. This is probably more complicated than what you guys want to get into right now, because in order to do this, we're talking probably 3 hours plus of CAD time to get everything cleaned up, CAD and cutting time. This is a 2 to 3 hour project. Now, the reason I'm showing you this project is because there's some items on here that we need to look at. When we're cutting with the plasma cutter, we're going to cut lines. So if we look at this, you can see there's lines. This entire eagle is all cut out with lines. We have to ask ourselves, do we want to keep? What do we want to keep? What do we want to get rid of? Well, in this case right here, if we had just cut the outside of the eagle all the way around, this whole eagle would have fallen out of the project. We didn't want that. We wanted to keep the main outline of the eagle within the project, and this part that is solid that we can see, we refer to that as basically we have negative and positive, or negative and solid space. This is solid space. Anything that we cut all the way around, if it's completely enclosed, well, then that part's going to fall out. That's negative space. Well, I didn't want my whole eagle to fall out. I wanted to keep some positive space. So you can see right here, we kept this part of the eagle right there. How do we keep parts? How do we let certain parts fall out? And what happens if we have parts like the O? Can you guys see this O right here? On the O, you can see that we have negative space where we cut out the O, but I wanted to keep the center of the O in place as solid space. So we're going to talk about that a second. So when we're doing this, Tanner, pay attention. Yep, talking to you, Tanner. When we're doing this, you need to think about there's two terms I'm going to use a lot: tabs and bridges. I'm going to show you how to make a tab. I'm going to show you how to make a bridge. So when we're cutting out something like this eagle, in order to keep the whole body of the eagle in play, I'm going to stand up a second. You'll see right here, we were cutting with the cutting torch, the plasma torch, and we got to right here, and we picked the cutting torch up, moved over, and then went back down. We left a solid piece of metal right across there. That is called a tab. Anytime I stop the cut and leave a piece of metal right here, there's another tab. The cutting torch came along, picked up, moved over, went back down. We left that solid piece of metal right there. That's a tab. So anywhere we stop the cut and pick the cutting torch up, we have a tab. Right here, there's a tab. Can you guys see that okay, Tommy? Allie, can you guys see that? You can, okay. Now, those are tabs. Tabs are different than bridges. A bridge would be like right here on the O. So on my O, I cut out my O. If I cut this O all the way around, the center of the O would fall out and you wouldn't have anything there. It'd just be a big open hole. I wanted to leave the center of my hole so that I could see that this was the letter O. If you're doing a P or a D or a B, you would do the same exact process as this. So in this case, the center of my O right there, that's what I refer to as an island. Well, if I have an island, how do I get from the island to the mainland down here? I make a bridge. So right here, I drew in, or I left the little piece of metal going from my island to the mainland, and that's what we refer to as a bridge. Bridges go from island to mainland. That's where I'm adding a piece of material in. So adding a little piece of material, bridge. Stopping the cut is a tab. Now, I'm showing you that because I'm going to show you how to make bridges and tabs right now. The other thing, since I have you on my live camera right now, the other thing you need to think about, I'm going to be telling you, giving you your assignment. Part of your assignment is you need to save a document off the internet. One of the ways of saving it will be on your Google Drive. You can do that. That works. But when we're working in the lab right here, you're going to be working on my computers if you come in, and getting to your Google Drive isn't going to be as simple. If you save on one of these, it's actually much, much easier. Who knows what this is? What do we call this?
A jump drive.
This would be a jump. Thank you for calling it a jump drive. We call these jump drives. Some people call them flash drives. Some people call them thumb drives. There's a lot of different names for them. But it's a portable drive system. You can buy them at Walmart for $5. This is the best way to save your drawings. It's the best way to save your work, to get it from this computer to the CNC system. So if you have one of those, save your your file on there, and then we can work with it and save it and move back and forth. Okay. So
can we also send it over an email?
You can send it over an email, yeah. So if you download a file and you have it saved and you want to email it to me, that is perfectly fine. That works. The jump drive, that I use that's my classroom jump drive. We have to use a jump drive to get to the CNC plasma cutter because it is not hooked up to Wi-Fi and it is not hooked up to the network. But the laptops in class are, so we can just open up your email and download it off of there. So that's a good question. Okay, so how do we start this process? I'm going to share my screen with you guys and show you what we're going to do. Basically, when we start creating this stuff, we have two options on the CAD system. You can either A, draw it yourself. If you're good at using AutoCAD or you're good at drawing on a computer, you can draw the object yourself. Or B, we can take an image already made that's online. I strongly recommend B because I'm not a very good artist. So I'm not able to draw online very well. That eagle I showed you, that would take you days and days to draw that on a computer. And I will tell you, there are people that are much better at it than I am. They're drawing their files and they're saving them on the internet and they're readily available. You can actually get them off of the internet. So the kind of file we want to get from the internet is a DXF file. It has to be a DXF. There are other ways we can use other files, but it's going to be, that's too complicated for this video. So we're just going to do a DXF. So I'm going to show you how we do that right now. You're going to want to pay attention to this because this is something that you're going to be doing. Okay, so we're going to go to the internet. Here's the great big world of the Google net. I'm going to look up a pretty simple object that I want to look up. I'm going to look up a cat. And you can see it already started filling in for me because I did this. I was trying to do it last hour. But I don't want just a cat image. I want a DXF. And then you'll notice after the DXF, I intentionally plug in the word free. The reason I plug in free, if you just do DXF files, you're going to get hundreds of thousands of files. And a lot of them, most of them, you're going to have to pay for. But there are thousands and thousands of free files on the internet that you can download for free. And that's just where I'm going to go with it because I don't think you need to pay for them. So if I do a cat DXF file, free one, I click on it, I'm going to get this. If I go to images, now you can see all the cat files that I've got. These are all different cat files, dog files, whatever. If you want to do something like that, we can do that exactly. Notice over here is a clock. We can do a cat clock. I really like that one. So I'm going to do simple right now, just for the sake of argument. We're going to keep this simple. So let's select this one. So notice this is a pretty simple black and white two-dimensional image. This is what we want to download to put into our CAD file. So I'm going to double click on it. And you can see right here it says it's a DXF file. It has to be a DXF. And then I want to download it. So I'm going to click download. And you can see it's downloading in 3, 2, 1. Boom. There it goes. So right down here in the lower left-hand corner is my file. It's RO6DQ, whatever. Okay, so now I can minimize this. I don't need this anymore. Now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to open up QCAD. QCAD is the software we're going to be working with. You can download this at home if you want. It is free. It's a pretty simple program to use. If you go QCAD shareware, you can download that. So we're going to open this up and here's my QCAD. So now I'm going to go File, Open. And I want to open something that was in my download. And here's the one that I just downloaded. There's the date on it. That was it right there. So if I open it, boom, here we go. Note, there's my cat. It's now all in line. So it's just single lines on here. Also, it's in millimeters. These are millimeters right here. I don't want to work with it in millimeters. I want to work with it in inches. So here's what you need to do. Watch. I'm going to simply left click and drag a box over my cat. Boom, there, my cat is all highlighted. It's selected. I'm going to go edit, and I'm going to do a copy paste, just like you do copy paste with anything else. I'm going to copy it. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go file, new, start a brand new file. Now notice, now I'm in inches, 5 inches, 10 inches, 1 foot, 2 feet, 2 feet 11, 3 foot. Notice for a second right down here, I can zoom in and out using the scrolly wheel on the mouse. Right here is my little red plus sign. We refer to this as the origin. The origin is 0x, so there's my 0 for x, and 0y. There's my 0 for y. Anything above this line right here is positive y. Anything below this line is negative y. So notice over here we're in a negative. Right here we're in a positive. We want to be in the positive y, and I want to be on the positive x. So that means wherever my drawing is, I want to put it over in this quadrant right here. I don't want to be down here. I don't want to be over there. I want to be right in here because that's positive x, positive y. So we're going to go edit, paste, and there's my cat. And I'm going to click on it. Now, if it did not put it in the exact place that I wanted, I'm going to show you how to move it. Again, I drag a box over my cat and highlight it. 90% of the tools that you will use on QCAD can be found under this tab right here, Modify. Almost every single tool you're going to use will be in Modify. If I click on Modify, you can see I can move, rotate, scale, flip it, whatever I want to do. Right now, we're just going to move it. So here's my base location. I'm going to select that in the lower left-hand corner of my cat because that's where I want my origin to be. The origin should always be in the lower left-hand corner. Now, when I move it around, I can move it exactly to my origin. And then I can either delete the original, keep the original, or have multiples. I'm just going to delete it. There. So you can see we moved it just a little bit. The other thing you need to keep in mind is I'm going to give you a 1 foot square piece of material to work with. So we're going to draw a square box around this cat that we're ultimately going to cut out. And I want it to be 1 foot by 1 foot. So I'm going to come over here really quick. And I'm going to select a square. You can see these are my drawing tools. And the tool that I want to draw with is a square. So I'm going to select on my origin, and I'm going to draw a box. And I want my box to be 1 foot by 1 foot. There. If you hit escape, that always backs you up. So I'm going to hit escape a couple times, and it brings me back to my main menu. So now you can see we've got this cat in here. If my cat is too big or small, I can highlight it just like it's highlighted right now. I can go to Modify, and I can scale it. Again, I'm going to select on the origin. And now I can say, well, how big do I want it to be or how small do I want it to be? Notice right here, it's my X factor. Your X factor, anything greater than 1 is going to make your object bigger. Anything smaller than 1 will make your object smaller. So if I really want to shrink it, I might have an X factor of like 0.1. That would shrink it 10 times. Right now it's at 0.8, so that would make it 80% of this size. I'm going to make it actually bigger. I'm going to make it 1.1. So now I'm going to be making it 10% bigger than it is right now. If I hit OK, there you can see my cat just got a little bit bigger. All right, so now we're going to zoom in on my cat and let's take a look at it. Remember I said anytime I have an object, if the plasma cutter goes all the way around it, and it cuts continuously, that part is going to fall out. Well, if we cut this right now, this section, the plasma cutter is going to go all the way around it. This is going to fall out. This will fall out. That will fall out. That's going to fall out, as will the eye and all those whiskers. If we want that to happen, that's perfectly fine. But if we don't want that to happen, then we need to put in tabs. So you have to ask yourself, do I want these to fall out, or do I just want to have lines cut on here, but I want to keep it in place? Well, right now my entire cat is going to cut out, and I want to keep the outline of my cat because otherwise it would just disappear in my big square plate. So we're going to drag a box and highlight it again. I actually have to back up a second. Notice when I touch on this line, the whole outline of the cat highlights. That's problematic because it's not going to let me break that line up. I need to break these into miniature little lines. So I'm going to do what is called an explosion. So I'm going to highlight my cat. Oop, I didn't get the outside of it. There. Now we got my cat. All of the tools are located in the modify, under my modify menu. If I scroll down, there's my explode. So right here I can click explode, and notice it changed colors. And what it did is instead of all of these lines being connected, you can see there's now miniature lines. There's little sections of line on here. That's what we want because that's going to allow us to break out the little tabs that we need to break out. Let me show you how to make tabs. So I want to go along here and I want to cut out a section of this line so that my cat won't fall out. I'm going to do that with my lines. So I'm going to come over here, I'm going to grab my line tool, and I'm going to make what I call staples. So I'm going to zoom in here, I'm going to just click a line, and I just drew 3 random lines. And then I'm going to hit escape. It breaks it off. Notice that looks like a staple. Looks like there's a staple sticking out of the back of the cat. I'm going to do a couple of those. So I'm going to come down here. There's a staple. I'm going to come over here. Usually when I'm doing it, I try to put them in really indiscriminate places so people won't see them. But for demonstration purposes, I'm just doing them really quickly. There's a staple. There's a staple. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out the part of the cat that's in between the staple. And I'll show you why we needed to have that staple in there right now. So we want to cut out this little section of line. We do that with a tool that's in Modify. I'm going to hit Escape. We'll Modify. This is important. Pay attention. In order to cut out a line that we don't want, I go to Modify and I go Break Out Segment. Now watch what happens when I zoom in here to my breakout segment. I can click whatever I click on, it's going to delete right up to the line that I drew in. I'm going to delete that one. Now I just got rid of that section of the cat. I now need to get rid of the staple. So I'm going to delete the staple right there. So now you can see the plasma cutter is going to cut. It's going to stop right here. It's going to pick up. It's going to jump over, and it's going to start cutting again right there. So now my cat is connected to the main object, my main piece of sheet metal. I'm going to do the same thing right here. Bunch of little lines in here. There. I just deleted all those lines. Now I'm deleting my staple. There, I just made a tab. That is a tab. I'm going to make a tab right here. And we'll make another tab right there. Okay, now my cat is connected to the main object. The outline of my cat will not fall out. This is all going to stay as positive space or positive material. I'm going to let this paw print fall out as well as this, all of these other sections. I'm just going to let those fall out. I don't care about those. The other thing I want to do on here is I'm going to add some text. You could put your name in there. You can put, I love kitty in there, whatever you want. I'm going to put something simple in there. So notice over here, I'm going to select the text tool. So I click on the text tool, and now I can go in here and I can type whatever I want. You'll notice that you have a whole bunch of different fonts to use. I can change the height of the font. I can change the spacing. I can make them italicized. I can rotate them. I can do all kinds of things with my text. I'm just going to make simple text. What does a cat say? What does the cat say? Cat says, meow. There. That's what my cat says. So I'm going to hit OK. Notice I can drag the text and put it wherever I want. So I'm going to put my text right there. Hit escape. Okay. Zooming in with the scrolly wheel. If I look at my text, notice how if I click on my text, it all highlights. Well, it's just like with the side of the cat over here. When I selected that, it all highlighted. So I have to do the same thing to my text that I did with my cat. I need to explode it. So I'm going to drag a box around my text, modify, that's where all my tools are located, modify, explode, and you can see now it's exploded. And I'm going to actually explode it one more time just to break it up a little bit more. There we go. Now, if I look at my text, they're all simple lines. Well, note, the plasma cutter is going to cut wherever there's a line. So right now it's going to cut on this entire line. It's going to cut the M. The M is going to fall out. It's going to be negative space. Good, that's what we want. This is going to do the exact same thing, as is the O. However, the O is problematic because it's going to cut out the middle of the O, and then it's going to cut out the outside of the O, and we're not going to see the center of the O. The O is an island. So we want to create a bridge that goes from my island to my mainland. Here's how we make bridges. Bridges are basically the same as making tabs, except for I like to make them with squares. So I'm going to go over here and grab my rectangle box. If you didn't see that, it's under this drawing tool right over here. And make a box. And I'm going to zoom in on here, and now I'm just going to draw a rectangular box. Hit escape. Oh, come on. And I'm going to draw another rectangular box. Boom, there we go. So we got these two rectangular boxes in here, but we need to delete out some of this material that we don't want. So we're going to do it the same way we did with tabs. We're going to go to Modify, Breakout Segment, and I'm going to break out the middle of this O that I don't want. I now made a bridge going from here to here, but I got to get rid of my square, my rectangle that I put in. So I'm going to delete all of that. I'm going to delete that. Do not delete these sections right here. You need to leave those in place because the plasma cutter is going to come along and it's going to follow that line and then come back through. If you delete it, then you're not going to have the negative space in there. So I'm going to delete. I'm going to delete all of that. There we go. Now I've got bridges. There's a bridge connecting the island of the O to the mainland. So that's a bridge. That's a tab. Difference between a bridge and a tab. All right, so now you've got your object ready to cut out. We just need to take this over to the plasma cutter. We're going to set it up on the plasma cutter, and that's in the other video that I already have on Canvas. Cutting this out is easy. It's going to take a couple of minutes, max. All the hard work that you have to do is what I just showed you. It's all of the CAD work. So now we're going to save this. I want to show you how we save this. Watch. Last hour, I accidentally unplugged my camera when I did this. So I'm going to plug in my jump drive. Notice when I plug in my jump drive, it says Geary Jump is plugged in. No, I'm not going to scan it. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to go File, Save As. When I go to Save As, I need to go down here to the Geary Jump drive. See, it says Geary Jump. If I open this up, right here, 4th hour metals. I'm going to select on 4th hour metals. Now I can call it whatever I want to call it. I'm going to call it meow. There it is. Yes, I'm going to overwrite the old meow. Okay, this is now saved on the jump drive. I can now close this and get rid of it. And I'm out here. Note, watch my screen. In order to delete or to take out the jump drive, do not just jerk the jump drive out. You need to go down here on this little upside down V, click on it. And right here, it gives you a couple of extra options. You want to select this one right here where it says safely remove the hardware and eject the media. Click that and eject the flash drive. Now I can pull my flash drive out. Okay, I'm going to shut that off really quick. Going back here. All right, so don't pull the flash drive out without doing that eject process. You can pull your flash drive out. I've done it. I've done it many, many times. And you'll probably be just fine. 95% of the time, you can just jerk that flash drive out of there. However, that 5% of the time that you do it, this thing has got current going through it. When you pull it out, you're going to fry it, which means you're going to burn up and lose all the files that are on it. And if you're the one that loses all of your classmates' files, they're not going to be happy with you. So it's easy to take that extra 30 seconds, hit eject flash drive, then pull it out. Once we have that CAD process done, we can save it on the flash drive. We're going to take it to the CNC, plug it in on the CNC. The other video that's on Canvas is going to show you how to take that drawing, load it up into the CAM-CAD processor. CAD-CAM processor will write your code for you. For those of you that have never written code before, Tommy, what'd you think about writing code? Was it a good time? Thumbs up or down? Be honest, Tommy. Oh, you're a liar. Tommy's lying. I will tell you that the people that were writing code last year did not have a very good time. It's writing code. Some people like it, but it's monotonous and it takes a lot of time. So we're going to use a CAD-CAM processor. It's going to take our CAD file that we just drew, and it's going to write the code for us, and it writes the code in about 5 seconds. So 5 seconds with the CAM processor, writes the code, and then we're going to set up the CNC cutter, and that entire drawing that I just did for you will take a minute, maybe 90 seconds to cut out, and then your project's cut out. So that's what we're going to do for this week. Quick recap, what is due for this week? On Monday, I put in plasma cutter setup. That video and worksheet is due this week. This presentation with the CAD system has a worksheet with it. That is due this week. The other thing that you need to do, whether you're coming into Open Lab or not, is you need to go online and you need to find a DXF file. You can either save the DXF file and put it on a Google Doc, and you can share the Google Doc with me, or you can save it to a jump drive, or you can email it to me as Ian asked. So you can email it to me, you can share it with me, whatever you want to do, I don't care, but I want you to send me a DXF file that you would maybe potentially cut out. That's the 3 things that you have to have for this week. Then, if you want to come in on Friday Open Lab, I'm going to show you how to take your DXF file. I'm going to help you walk it through the CAD system. You're going to make your CAD file. We're going to save it, and hopefully we're going to cut it out. If we don't get to cutting it out, we can cut it out next week. We're going to have the next couple of weeks for cutting out objects on the plasma cutter. So if we don't get them all cut out right now, we've got next week and the week after. We can cut out objects on those Fridays during Open Lab. We will also have Open Lab available to weld if you want to do more welding. And next week we're going to get into wire feed welding. So we're going to be kind of simultaneously be doing the plasma cutting, CNC plasma cutting, and welding. That will be what we're doing for the next couple of weeks. Okay? I'm going to stop recording now.